track is not supported by the player. What?
Huh?
Oh, right. I forgot.
What?
It's chili.
What the fuck? Alright,
Oh my God.
no. Okay, no, we're... Classic, turn it off and back on again. Works every time.
Gosh, don't bother me.
You go over to Tao, who's in the midst of... His arms are tucked behind his back, one hand grasping the other. Even in the gloom of this night, ever barely lit by the campfire way, there's just something about his kit that gives him an innate glow, particularly his goggles. Almost like seeing like a predator in the middle of the night. It's like where like light catches on their eyes.
Yeah, I got the reflective lenses.
Yeah. He doesn't turn around as you approach. But he does sort of like cock his ear, like cock his head, like listening as you approach. Ever so slightly.
I don't think she'd say much. I think she would probably just find a spot right there, perfectly in the middle of these 4 squares, specifically. And she'd probably just sit and eat, looking out at the lake.
Oh, now you're speaking Tao's language. A lack of language. Very good. You both stare out onto the lake, some portion of it being illuminated by your guys' campfire, some by the innate road light that's, albeit not directly, like, have direct line of sight on, but still emanates out.
Remind me, his little contraption does intake real food, right?
Yeah.
She would have brought a small bowl alongside her own.
He doesn't pull out the contraption, he seems content in brooding. Silence. Well, the tides of the water, so not...
Not utter
Holy.
silence.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't say much until she was done eating. At which point she'd, again, scan over the water. And look at him. You looking for anything in particular out there?
No. Just thinking.
About ranger stuff? Memories?
You see his gaze turn downward towards the ground instead of the lake surface. I had forgotten to think on ranger things.
To be fair, we were traveling most of the day.
That's no excuse. I got lost in other things. Blurry, vague memories. He looks down at the bowl or the bowl of chili that was designated for him. Still there.
Mhm.
I take it that's for me.
Yep.
And I take it you want me to actually eat it.
If you're inclined. Either way, it's for you.
Make me a persuasion check. Yeah, do it at advantage.
Ooh la la. Thank God I have a -1.
Oh
Oh my God!
My God.
I'm marking both of those down.
Holy
Thank
crap,
you, dice!
man. Wow. The dice gods smiling you today.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The
Thank you,
romance
dice gods.
gods beat up the dice gods and be like, you put 2 nat 20s next on the docket or I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna sell you your clothes back for the same amount of money.
Oh my God.
That's not fair! Just completely unrelated to the issue at hand. I'm gonna sell you your clothes back, punk! What?
He crouches down and takes it in one hand. Uses the provided spoon to just sort of stir for a bit. Then he finally takes off his visor which is probably the first time you guys have. Well, not you guys. You're the only one here. It's the first time you've ever seen Tao without his visor. It's unsurprisingly pale.
Mhm.
You can tell that there's some scars now that he's pulled off most of it, particularly around his goggles, like around where his goggles meet his nose, as well as some claw scar marks around his cheek down to his jawline.
She'd do the classic thing of trying not to make it look like she's looking and just glance, look back out at the lake.
Something that you would also catch is he does have very pronounced canines. More so than a normal person would. Well, normal humanoid that isn't literally a dog person would. He sniffs at the chili, then takes a bite. Chews it for a bit. Swallows. Not bad.
Oh yeah, chili at home? I assume yes. It's one of those things you can make lots of. It wouldn't be the same.
It's really the question on like the spices, but yeah, the concept of chili is probably there. I don't know what I generally don't know like where chili powder, all the components of chili powder come from. No one just say chilies, okay, which chilies, etc.
Yeah.
But the concept is there.
It's good. I like the stuff we make at home better, but that's unsurprising.
Just keeps eating. You get I call it a ping from Le Trevu. Not really anything lengthy. Not even actual words. It's just the vibe, the feeling of observe. And, well, do you listen to it?
Yeah, I think so.
He eats very mechanically. He chews the exact same amount of times every time.
Does she get the feeling that... Let me think of how to word this.
Sure.
I guess does it look like he's on autopilot? Like he's not really paying attention to anything? Or is he like hyper focused on it? Alright, let me see.
Nice. You're really very good today.
Nice.
It seems more the latter. He's... How to say this? He's applying scientific process to the act of chewing and tasting. As such, for this experimentation, he does not deviate in the steps. He chews 7 times, no more, no less, swallows.
Do you calculate everything you do?
He's on his 5th chew, now 6th, now 7th, and done. Not intentionally. Not anymore. No, it's just sort of built in. He finishes the chili and sets the bowl down. Stares at it for a few moments before turning to you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Puts his visor and goggles back on.
She looks back out at the lake.
You both stare in comfortable silence. Moment after moment passes. You see out of the corner of your eye Riza down the shoreline doing something. You're not quite sure, mostly because you're catching the aftermath of it versus the actual act of it. But whatever it is, it does produce a bit of a glow. A bright blue glow. And it does seem that Tao catches it as well as he turns in that direction.
Yeah, Thalia looks over.
Yeah, not sure. There is something in the water that is giving off this glow. I guess it should be right next to the shoreline. Almost like bioluminescently.
Mm-hmm.
Although much more concentrated than usual bioluminescent, like algae and stuff would give off.
Does it look like an object, or does it look like just light?
Ooh, roll me perception. Do it at advantage, because Tal is technically helping you.
Perception.
Didn't need it.
Nice.
Looks like an object.
Is it floating? Sinking?
It definitely sunk a bit. It doesn't look like it's hit the shore floor, though. It's just holding its buoyancy. Just holding place. Which is interesting, because most objects don't normally hit a middle point. They either sink or they float to the top. People can hold their spot, obviously, but that's because they can actively choose to do so. She'd have to have an object of a very, 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 very specific density for it to go into the middle of water, and only water, right? It's not like there's oil underneath the water to give it a quote unquote floor. That, or the other suspect is it's magic, which fair enough.
And what is Riza doing about this?
She has her arms wrapped around her knees as she sort of leaned on top of them, to sort of squatting near the shoreline. Sort of just staring, regarding it in like this almost sleepy, lackadaisical sort of way. Like someone watching like a small boat float out, like a small paper boat float out to sea.
That was my next question. Is she watching it, or is she just kind of waiting nearby it?
She's watching it.
Thalia will do the same for a little bit.
Up to her crafts again, I'd say.
Does she do this specific thing a lot?
Only near large bodies of water. And no, not a lot. Recurringly, but not a lot. He
What
shakes
does
his head. I don't know what qualifies a body of water as suitable. She never told me.
Do you know what it does?
Bits and pieces. It's some sort of connection back to Chrysanthos. He looks to you, the Ventorian Newman.
Nod.
Don't know what about it is necessary for her occupation. Maybe not. It isn't necessary. Shakes his head. I don't know.
Glance over at Roma in the camp.
Probably at this point in time, probably in the middle of talking of Arnie or something, but we'll get to that later. He turns over his shoulder, following your gaze. Turns back to the lake surface. You are a very motley crew.
I don't even know how we really got here. I mean, I do. But it's weird.
Life has that tendency. The only thing predictable about life is its unpredictability.
I stopped trying to figure it out. Pretty much the second I brought a Sfiarin into my group.
An interesting duo you two make. He thinks for a moment. I don't think I ever asked, or cared to hear, what actually brought it on. This. He gestures at the party, off in the distance.
She'd tell him about the first session. Like how we were in this strange world after going and following someone into the basement. She'd keep it brief. But just say that's how they all found each other.
Hmm.
And we just never really separated.
Good. He turns back to lake surface. Not everyone in the world can handle other people's peculiarities. So it's good that you have found people that can tolerate and welcome you.
I always heard stories of people outside, not only my tribe, but just the Dragal Peninsula, not being very welcoming. So I'm surprised at how many people we found that have been the opposite.
The stories are right. But you have a shield. And most importantly, you know when to keep your head down. There's a time and place for every fight. Not all of them are worth taking. He crouches down and puts his hand in the water, forming a little cup with his hand, before lifting water flowing from the sides of his hand, the leftover pieces, as he has this little accumulation of water still in his palm. And he stares at it. Moment passes, 2 moments, 3.
Dahlia's also staring at it.
It eventually begins glowing. Not in the same way as Riza's thing, which has this blue glow about it. This one, it bubbles for a few moments before letting off some little, I'll call it the steam of the bubbling, or little puffs of purple. Very, very hard to see if you weren't already staring at it in the first place.
She's just definitely very intrigued.
This place is a ley line running under it.
What?
He stares at you for a moment, wondering what does the what entail? Then he lets the water splash to the ground, where it immediately just sort of sinks into the sand or dirt of the shoreline, and letting out a very noticeable plume of purple smoke. Looks around, finds a bit of driftwood, a little stick off behind him, grabs it, takes it, turns around, begins drawing in the sand between you guys. The world has hidden channels of energy, ancient power. We call these ley lines. It is from this power more naturalistic people derive their abilities, as well as nature itself. He looks to you. Not every plant you find out in the world has alchemical capability. Not unless you get a lot of it. The ones that do have more innate alchemical ability have more innate magic in them. And that magic comes from... And he taps his diagram of this really jagged, crazy looking sketch work of the local region and a bunch of random lines that connect to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's derived from the ley lines. He taps one spot in specific, which, stare out for a moment, you recognize as the lake. Like where we are right now. He looks to you. Are you following me?
She nods, staring at the diagram.
Good. He nods. Such energies can be derived into certain categories. So too can all forms of magic, spells, potions, even items. They're fundamental, ingrained in everything. Although he wags the stick at you, make no mistake, that doesn't mean everything in the world has all of these categories, but everything in the world has at least one. For example, he points with a stick at the forest. Forestry is typical of sustenance, indicated by the primordial color of green.
Right.
He looks to you. You know this theory.
I believe so. If we're talking about the same thing. Red is passion, and blue is knowledge, magic, that sort.
Ah. An outdated theory.
Tilts her head.
Nothing to be ashamed about. Knowledge seldom circulates cleanly, especially in these times. Green is sustenance. He points at the forest. Red, he points at the fire, is change. A natural change. The burning of wood happens when lightning strikes. He taps one of the bowls of the chili. The changing of food into energy in the mortal body. Natural change. Blue is not the color of knowledge, although in some way it is related to magic. He looks over his shoulder at the water. It is the color of creation. From this water, many things will spawn. Ideas, concepts, poetry. Maybe not in our lifetime.
But in someone's.
Correct. Black and white are the rarer ones. Red, green, and blue, you'll find that plentifully around the world. To understand the context of black and white, you must understand that they are closely intertwined. Black is the color of corruption, unnatural changes and effects, toxins, mutation, transmogrification. These are unnatural things. A toxin may be naturally occurring in the body of its creator, but it is not natural in the target that is bitten or assaulted. It is a foreign agent. Whereas white is the color of stability, found plentifully in lands blessed with light, relatively plentifully. Preservation, cleansing, security. This is what white represents, what it brings. You've likely often seen bright lights from your friend. He indicates Caradoc with a stick.
Nod.
The afterimage of the white essence. Or a visual take on the breaking of vessels. Light also, in its stability, stably holds energy. In 05. That's something else. He stands up at that. Staring at his sketchwork.
Something else?
Something else. He turns to you, sort of gauging you. How intrigued would you say Dolly it is at that remark.
Specifically that one?
Yeah.
I feel like she's enwrapped by this whole thing because this is a new concept to her.
Fair
so
enough.
I'd say she's quite interested in all of it.
What? I don't suppose you'd say he would have advantage.
I mean, why not?
Get. Oh, Cal,
Hey,
you.
you want an inspiration?
Sure, I appreciate it.
Have an inspiration for
The
romance.
worst he could. Oh my god.
Okay, well, it's
Holy shit!
Well, I think a 20 is good enough, right? You're not a particularly deceptive individual or obfuscative individual, but it is really funny that he got
That is
a 1, 4, and a 6. Yeah, Tal sucks. If you want to know more, I talked to the Ash Warden. Or Ash Wardens. Whatever interest you have in them, though, I assure you, you do not understand the depths of it.
She's clearly not sure what to say in response. I feel like it's pretty clear that she wants to understand the depths of it. And what he means by that.
You got a double nat 20 earlier, no roll necessary. You can see under his goggled eyes a very, very rare thing. The look of tiredness. As I said, if you want to actually learn, he points with the stick at, I guess, the direction Anvil generally is in, because he's not on the map technically. He's like way off it, way over there somewhere. I talked to the Ash Warden. Either him, or if you want to truly get into it, their headquarters. You won't be hearing it from me, though.
No.
No. In all honesty, I doubt I even can tell you the entirety of it. He stares at the stick in his hand for a moment before just yeeting it into the way off into the water somewhere where you hear a poosh. I guess we more of a violent poosh splash.
Not because you don't know, but because you couldn't teach me, or you won't.
Teach you what?
The depths of it.
Thanks for a
All
moment.
this.
This. He gestures at the sketches on the ground where he drew like little symbols here and there, etc. This I could teach you. The combination. He shakes his head. Both. Can. Won't. And that's probably for the best.
So you say.
So I say, whether you believe me or not is up to you. He thinks for a few moments, and I make a save for him. He's been doing so well on these so far. Right. Oh.
Oh my God.
brother in Christ.
What is that roll?
It's a rough
is it?
time out here for Tal. It ain't
Did
easy
you get a
being
pity
empty.
inspiration?
I don't even. I have an inspiration I could give him.
I'll let you trade your double nat 20s to give him a reroll, but so essentially the double nat 20s is I didn't make you roll for much else for convincing him to say stuff. You'd be trading that for him to get a reroll. So you might actually have to start rolling for stuff now. Or you just give him an inspiration.
I would like to give the inspiration and see where that goes.
Oh boy. Okay, well,
Just obliterate. If it's related to Need Not today, it's a 20 or a 19.
I was sweating.
The individual already sucks at rolling. Perhaps it flips. Like